I know you, I can feel you with the green of soul. It's more than empty dreams and promises. It's not infecting me no more. When all I say to you is getting gone, you won't be feeling me no more. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. With all those dreams of all our memories, there's not being alone at one. And thoughts of you just bring me down inside. I sing it with the green of souls. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so What? Get your hands up! It's more than empty dreams and promises.
All right, let's get this. All right, let's get that intro card in. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification. Like the video. All that good stuff. All right, you guys, welcome to the listening room today. I am your host. My name is Eddie Booz, and welcome my guest, please, woodwind extraordinaire, Brandon Baker. How you doing, my brother?
Doing good.
Good to
My
see you,
man.
boss. Good to see you.
Man.
So, what do you like to call yourself? What should I have put there? I put woodwind master, but because I know as well as a lot of people who are out there are watching actually know that Brandon is. I think most people who know you and have seen you play would agree. You knock it out of the park with sax. Both tenor and alto, correct?
correct.
And flute as well as clarinet.
Dabble.
You do a little dabbling in clarinet. How long have you been playing clarinet for now?
Clarinet, probably 4 to 5 years.
So that's fairly recent, you know, as that like some of the other woodwinds that you've been playing or you've been playing for how long now? So you've been playing music how long exactly?
So I started playing music when I was 7 years old, 7 to 8 years old, and
Okay.
that's when I started realizing, like, you know, this something awesome about this. And then I picked up the flute in the 3rd grade, and you know, I must have been like just, you know, making, you know, the worst type of sounds coming from your room, you know, practicing. Thank you to my lovely parents for putting up with that. And I proceeded to start taking lessons in 6th grade all the way up till my senior year from a legendary teacher in town, Darren Thaves. And and I think after that, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level. I started playing saxophone in 8th grade because I wanted to join the jazz band and go to Disneyland with the jazz band at the school, at Hughes Middle School. And then after that, I went to Long Beach Poly, and, you know, I fell in love with music. I think it was my sophomore year of high school. I was like, I want to do this, you know, for the rest of my life. And then, you know, fast forward, I'm 27.
Right. You had quite the extensive musical journey. You know, sometimes when I tell people how accomplished you are, I like to tell them about how you got into the Disneyland College Band. Speaking of Disneyland Band, you were in were you in Reno?
I was in Reno at not the Reno Jazz Festival, which is, you know, what a lot of musicians know about, but I was at the esteemed JEN conference, the Jazz Education Network, And I drove 11 hours, and first time through snow as well, to this place in Reno and at the Grand Sierra. And, I ended up having, an audition on Saturday morning. I'll never forget it. I walked down and I saw this big banner downstairs on the bottom level of the casino hotel, and it said Disneyland auditions. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I remember reading something about it before, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Tenor sax, alto sax, piccolo, clarinet, all these instruments you had to be proficient in and audition on. With some type of classical repertoire or some type of, jazz improvisation. Long story short, that day I ended up going for an audition, and usually they don't take walk-ins, and I was like one of the the last people that you would see, that day. I think it was like around 3 p.m. and I signed up at like 10 a.m. in the morning, and I made the callback, and I got to spend 8 weeks performing in the park last summer.
Okay, so I got to kind of put this into perspective for a lot of people out there. What's up, Tiago? And is that...
That's Miley.
Miley. My eyes are terrible. My eyes are so bad.
Miley. Eyes are terrible.
What's going on? But no, so just to put this into perspective for everybody. Okay, so how many people try out for that annually?
Last year I think it was about 300 people.
300 people tried out?
300 people in 8 states tried out.
In 8 states. So each state had about 300 people.
No.
Total.
Yeah, each state had like 30 to 40.
Really?
Plus or more. I think a lot more in the Los Angeles area.
And then how many people did they accept?
They only accepted 21 people.
21 out of 300.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of those?
Yes. And this year it was supposed to happen again. But of course, as you all know, that the parks are closed right now.
Right, exactly. It all kind of has gone away of hopefully it'll be back soon. But anyway, so Brandon got chosen and then got to play in the Disneyland band for 8 weeks in the park. Was that paid?
Disneyland All-American College Band. Yeah, it's
awesome.
It's paid. I think it's I'm not going to tell you, but
of course,
it's
no reason.
What makes the experience worth it is you get to make 20 other friends you'll have for the rest of your life, and you get to be at the ultimate band camp in a way,
cool.
a sense, And
I like it. He said the ultimate band camp. I like it.
Except everyone's really cool, and they're the best people. And you know who you are if you're listening to this right now. You're definitely.
I'm sure they do.
One of the most inspirational things I've probably had the opportunity of doing. So I highly recommend it.
You've been in some pretty prestigious musical projects before, and so what one of those was and is the is it the Classical Jazz Orchestra at Long Beach State? Is it at Cal State Long Beach?
It's the Concert Jazz Orchestra.
Concert Jazz Orchestra.
And then also the lab band over there. Great band.
Now, the Concert Jazz Orchestra, didn't they get nominated for a Grammy?
They've been Grammy nominated so many times, and also their Pacific Standard Time, their vocal jazz ensemble.
Really?
Yeah, so Cal State Long Beach has a strong jazz program. Jazz at the Beach, woohoo! And my alma mater is Long Beach City College, so I got to play jazz there with the legendary saxophone teacher Patrick Shang. And if you're watching this too, woohoo, you know who you are. And that was the first time I really started playing alto sax, and that's what you'll hear me playing here later today for you. I didn't bring the tenor sax, which is what most people know me for, actually.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So you brought instruments that are not necessarily your first or your main instrument then today.
That's correct.
Very interesting. So today we're going to have an unexpected live musical performance from Mr. Brandon Baker. It's so good to have you, my brother from another mother. All right, me and Brandon have been playing together for quite some time now. I think I first met you when you jammed with Chowdy.
That's right.
And you jammed, and it was the first year I lived in this place. And I remember, were you here on Halloween at the Halloween party when they played here?
I don't think I was.
Okay,
no.
so I wasn't sure if that was the day or not, but I remember it was with Chowdy.
I wish I was.
Right? Yeah, I know. So, but I definitely remember it was with Chowdy, but I can never remember how I met like some of my oldest friends.
I played in a band called Those Guys. And
Those guys with
those
Chowdy,
guys
yeah.
were fantastic. I think it was,
Super great band.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, Chowdy, it was always my go-to. Okay, so whenever I would play, I mean, whenever I would want live music, you know, at like my parties, like Chowdy was always my go-to with that. He was always my guy. I would call him and be like, hey, let me get you. You got a party you're doing? Let me get you. You know? Yeah, I always loved Chowdy's music. He's a great songwriter, man, and I think your playing complimented him really, really well.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And I've seen you play with tons and tons of different bands, you know, over time, and I've been grateful and filled with gratitude to play with someone so amazing as yourself. You know, I could tell. I tell a little story about you. One time, I took this guy. I took this guy to play with me at a venue that I play very, very often. Actually, really great venue. I've actually talked about it here on the show a number of times. The venue is called Tantalum. Really great restaurant right on the water. And I used to
Fantastic.
I still play there. We're kind of easing back in, you know, as things open back up. And I remember I took Brandon with me on a Tuesday night. It was one of the Tuesday nights I was playing, and my Tuesday nights at the time were fairly sporadic. It was like one every once in a while, one a month or something like that. And I remember I brought Brandon in with me, and the owner of the place was sitting front, front and center like he always does. He has a little table in front, and super nice guy. And he saw Brandon. Actually, Brandon, you brought your little brother that night, who's going to be on next Friday, actually. And you and him both came up with me and jammed. I think he played flute, and he plays. You guys just jammed on some sax and some flute, and when I, over my stuff, and it was like, I remember he took Brandon aside and he was like, bro, he was like, anything you guys want, it's on me. He was like, and then I got a call later on from management, and she was like, hey, we really liked what you guys did on Tuesday. She was like, can you guys do that like more often? Can you bring in Brandon, and can you guys do like a little duo for you and him? It's like, yeah. So because of B, we ended up getting that. That ended up being a regular Tuesday, like every other Tuesday thing for quite a while, actually. Yeah, again, dude,
yeah, man.
my man, dude.
Love
Appreciate you, dude. Like, yeah, dude, it helps. Hey, man, every bit helps. Every job helps, dude. You know, and having somebody like you, it's always like that though. I always get people coming up to me afterwards or calling me or texting me, going, dude, that guy you played with was incredible. That guy you played with was super dope. In fact, if you not only stick around for Brandon's amazing set tonight, but if you stick around after that, we're gonna be going live, him and I, after the show tonight. Doing Human Jukebox. We're going to put a list of 200 songs in the description box, everything from classic rock to pop to hip-hop to country to reggae, even some punk rock, and you guys get to choose what we play instead of me and Brandon choosing what we play. So log back on later on tonight and come hang out with B and I.
Sounds like a deal.
It does sound like a deal, and I got to say, there's something too that I always like to start off my show with. We kind of got a little ahead of ourselves. We like jumped right into the music thing, But I always like to say that I always like to start my show off with a little bit of gratitude, and so today I'm grateful for unexpected blessings. I'm grateful to be able to expect unexpected blessings because I'm grateful to feel good, have gratitude, be able to access the consciousness of gratitude and abundance all at once instead of allowing the situation and circumstances externally to to develop those circumstances to develop those inner circumstances. I'm so happy and grateful that I've primed myself, and I continue to prime myself. It's a journey. I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface, but I feel like but I'm grateful that I'm able to, even in times of even in hard times, say I'm so happy and grateful that I have my dog. I'm so happy and grateful that I have a home. I'm so happy and grateful that I have a car. I'm so happy and grateful that I have running water. I'm so happy and grateful that I have people who love me, that I have people that I love. I'm so happy and grateful for whatever you're happy and grateful for, and to be able to access that and feel good, and in turn know that the universe is going to bless you somehow and bring you unexpected blessings, and and I know it's strange to say this, but to be able to actually expect unexpected blessings, to know they're coming your way, you know, and to just be grateful for them, you know, ahead of time, you know. I tell you a story. When I very first got into the law of attraction, I remember it was, I was feeling really bad. Like, I was all just like, it wasn't, usually people find the law of attraction, or they find gratitude, or they find this stuff, you know, meditation or things along those lines, when they're not in the best spot. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily go looking to feel better when you're feeling good. You know what I'm saying? So I was not feeling great. I was feeling depressed. I went looking for something to make me feel better. I always was looking for meditation music, and it actually turned into me finding out a lot more about just the laws of attraction and vibration and gratitude and success and love, you know, and you know, how to access those vibrational frequencies, you know. And you know, as I did that, I was able to as I started to write them down. The first day I was writing these things down like standards, like, I am so happy and grateful that blank. I am so happy and grateful that blank. Well, that day I remember one of those things I wrote down was, I am so happy and grateful that I have received unexpected blessings. And then what happened was, and it was among 50 other things that I had written down, you know, and I remember what happened was, the next day, my neighbor called me.
Wow.
And about 6:30, 7 p.m., I was working on my computer, wasn't feeling that great, and I got a call from my neighbor, who I got a text from him, which I didn't really know him at the time. Actually, I mean, I had his number, he had mine. It was about as far as it went. Yeah, hi, you know, hey, how's it going? You know, hey, how's it going? And he texted me that night. And he says, hey man, my wife and I made a little bit of extra salmon. Would you like to come over and enjoy dinner with us? I said, yeah, absolutely, dude. You know, so I mean, so I got myself together, and you know, I went over. I really didn't feel like getting, you know, like going, but I knew that I needed to get out and, you know, and make myself feel better. So I did. I got out. I went over. I had a 3-hour, really, really amazing, you know, experience with my neighbors. You know, and now they're great friends. You know, now my neighbor and his wife, and I see his family and his kids all the time. I'm always waving to him and talking to him and the grandkids and stuff. And super nice family, you know, and I unexpectedly got a call from a neighbor who I very rarely talk to. And all of a sudden I gained a close friend, you know? And so I came home from that experience realizing that I had somehow manifested some sort of experience in my life to put into my life some sort of unexpected blessing.
That's a blessing, yeah.
Right. That's what I thought, you know? And then, so I wrote it again the next night. I wrote it down. I said, I'm so happy and grateful that I've received unexpected blessings, along with a bunch of other things, a lot of which have come to fruition, a lot of which were already things that I was already grateful for, that were already in my life. And I remember the next night I wrote it down again, and I woke up the next morning to a text from one of my venues who I normally play once a month, and it's a really great venue, and it's somewhere I really enjoy playing, and it's you know, good pay, you know, and they said, hey, we like you once a week, you know, for the next month, you know, so you know, that added a significant, you know, and a bump to my income for the month, you know. It was just like, you know, so I started to realize that my thoughts were creating my reality. I started to realize that my thoughts were actually controlling my life. That what I thought and what I felt, how I developed an emotional you know, development with my gratitude or with the thing I wanted in my life. Then I realized that was like, I realized that it was creating these things. It was really, really weird, and I realized that doors started opening for myself. That it was so weird, you know. I was like, things were opening up for me that I didn't know were there.
Yeah, I think that's a secret too. You know what I mean? To, you know, what they call law of attraction is whatever you're grateful for, you're gonna attract. You know what I mean? And also too, the things that you accept and have grateful for, like maybe they're lessons, maybe they're hard things that you have to go through in your life to learn. You know, whether you go to school or you you lose a loved one, or you know, your pet goes away, runs away. You know, all these things. I used to have a pet parakeet, and it flew away one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And sometimes, you know, those situations, if you accept them and you are grateful for them, you learn a deeper lesson, you know, and you basically don't have to you know, suffer, you know, because I feel like a lot of the suffering is from fearing things that haven't even happened yet. And in the aspect of fearing those things, we attract those things to ourselves. So if we learn how to love the things that, you know, seek to harm us, I think there's something to be gained from that.
Totally,
what I'm saying,
dude.
Eddie?
Totally, you know, and you make a really good point there, you know, and I think a lot of like what you said is to learn to be grateful for some of the things that may have harmed us. Now, you don't necessarily, I feel like not necessarily, it's not maybe necessary to be grateful for those things, but to frame them in your in your chosen frame of reference, instead of looking at those things as negative things, instead of separative experiences or negative experiences, seeing it, and Kyle and I have talked about this on the show multiple times, is seeing things like that as an integrative experience. Not necessarily positive, but it's integrating something different into your life than what it was
Right.
previously, in what was previously in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to get rid of the good to make room for the great, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to make
absolutely, yeah.
room in your life, you know? And then when you get rid of and then sometimes when you step away from the things that you feel may be good, but maybe not necessarily before you in that moment, what you have to do, and I found for me, and this is just for me, I found what I have to do is I have to treat my emotional, my mental self almost like a garden, like with soil,
Right.
with weeds and things that have grown and maybe died. And I have to clear all that stuff out. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes time to be introspective, you know, with oneself, and it takes time to just approach your own, you know, internal senses and say, what do I need to work on right now? Well, how am I going to approach my next relationship with, you know,
Right.
you know what I mean, with more positivity, or more aligned with the things that I really want in my life and really are aware of, you know? And
Right.
it's things like that, you know what I mean? It's things like that that you start to realize when you start to do those things, you know? And you're right, you know, it's like, you know, it's just getting involved with that emotional relationship with the thing you're grateful for, feeling that gratitude, and not
Absolutely.
just saying I'm grateful, I'm so happy
Right.
and grateful, but allowing yourself to legitimately like think about that thing and then go like, okay, like, and then associate it with this amazing feeling of like gratitude and happiness, you know? So, but yeah, man, I mean, so yeah, today I am so happy and grateful that I receive unexpected blessings on a regular basis. Donnie Vazzi, good to see you, boss. Phoenix and Fire, what's good? Maya, Angela, good to see all of you guys in the house today. Please welcome my guest, Mr. Brandon Baker, woodwind master extraordinaire, gangster. What next time I'm gonna put? I'm gonna use different. I'm gonna use different names for that. You know, every time you're on. But yeah, man. So why don't you tell me something you are grateful for today, B?
All right, Eddie. I'll definitely tell you. I'm so happy and grateful for this music, and for my brother's music, and for
Awesome.
your music, and you know, for the things that
Love
are
it.
able to lift us out.
I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
bro. I love that, man. I love that. Your brother's music is awesome. I'm stoked about having your brother on. And you know, you talk about music lifting you up. Like, do you have any particular songs that just, like, when you hear them, they just like, man, you just feel good? Do you have songs like that?
Oh yeah,
Like what?
Absolutely, all the time. Anytime I listen to, you know, I think it's my brother titled this one track. We
Oh, it's one of your brother's tunes.
One of my brother's tracks.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it's called Baker Brothers, and it'll be coming out later on.
Hopefully he'll
in the
play it next
future.
Friday.
Yeah, so watch my brother. He'll be playing next Friday right here, right now. And I think what's exciting about my brother's music is that he let me, you know, record some great guitar slide stuff on it.
Right.
And every time I listen to it, my brother says, "That's just what it needed." You know what I mean?
That's what it needed. I love it, dude. You know what's funny, dude, is I love that, bro. You know what's funny? You never cease to amaze me with your answers to some of these questions. Like, you, instead of, you know, answering with a song that like everybody knows, that like everybody's inspired by, or something that's very almost cliche, you respond with, I'm inspired by one of my brother's songs. Like, it just shows the person you are, the genuine, authentic, you know, beautiful soul that you are, B. Like, I love you, man. I really do, dude. You're a really, really wonderful guy, you know. So for those of you out there who don't know Brandon, we actually used to have a meditation group every Wednesday night. and we would get together and we would talk about each other's desires, and we would try and manifest each other's desires. We would sit around
right.
in a group and we would take time, and one person, we would all,
Sometime more time, sometimes less time.
so much fun. What wonderful times, wonderful. I think we should start that over again. By the way, we might even want to make it like live for people to join in.
That would be fantastic.
Do you know what I'm saying?
what I mean?
I mean, really. I mean, maybe pick a couple of people's, desires out here in
Words of
in the
affirmation,
audience,
too.
and that's what it really is. Is really we would help each other with our affirmations and our manifestations, and the things we wanted in our lives, and I mean, it was like literally like things from like world peace to like I want Long Beach to be the best it can possibly be. To some people were like,
Last year I was feeling kind of anxious towards the Disneyland experience when I discovered I had made it into the band,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this is happening in 3 months. I'm so happy and grateful that I get to perform for thousands of people in the park every
Right.
day. And that was something that was manifesting because there was a lot of music, a lot of stuff to memorize, and you just have to do.
of course, hard work, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of rehearsal and practice that goes behind the scenes, for musicians. And so, my heart goes out to all you working hard, especially right now for musicians. It's harder than ever because I visited, New Orleans in January, and musicians out there, they gig, they play on the street, they make music, from the time they wake up and go to sleep. That's their life, and it's so amazing to see it in the street. I hope Long Beach becomes one of those cities one day. You can walk down the street again and see music and live rock bands, jazz bands, fusion, whatever, playing, and just sending audio out into the world.
Absolutely. What's funny about that is that I honestly think Long Beach is one of those cities. It's one of those cities in the country, to be honest with you, dude. Like, like there's cities that are just known for their music. I don't know if Long Beach necessarily outside of Long Beach is known for its music or not. But to be honest with you, it has one of the best music scenes
Absolutely.
that I have experienced. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, like, all right, like the Monday night jam at Roxanne's,
It,
and then you took it over, and then Tom Kendall, right?
Tom Kendall has it now. Yeah.
Tom Kendall's got it now. Tom's an awesome drummer, amazing percussionist. Always
him out.
always enjoy seeing Tom play, and I've got to play with. I was actually blessed to play with Tom once or twice. Actually, I think he jammed with me at Tantalum once. Actually, yeah, he's a great drummer. But if you guys want to see some real good jazz, go to the Jazz Jam on Monday nights at Roxanne's when that opens back up. It starts at like 9 p.m. I think. It's after the open mic, and the players there are just ridiculous. It's kind of second to none.
Oh yeah, no, and I remember when it first started up, going there as a 17-year-old kid. I say kid, but I guess I was a teenager. But I was 17, and I remember watching these musicians, Jarius Moise and Luke Shredden on the guitar, and Kelsey Gonzalez on the bass. Just some Tom Terrell on the trumpet. And Margus Miles on the drums. All these great musicians just, getting together every week to jam, and it was so inspiring as a young person to see that. And that was something that Tom and we got to share. I think I took him on a field trip I think when it was at the Gas Lamp, and we saw these live musicians performing, and just the soul that they were able to speak from their instrument. It was a blessing. Because to hear someone so in touch with their instrument and so easily, how are they doing that? How is that sax player playing like that? And great guests would come sit in.
Sure.
And really, it was a culture thing. And then I guess 4 years passed by, and I was like, you know what? I think it's time to bring this back and make it a thing again. And so from that, I know there's been so many musicians that have been able to go and actually perform for the first time. And with other musicians, and I can name a handful, of musicians and other bands, that, definitely, got to perform or come, hang and enjoy live music on a Monday night. You know what I mean? That was every Monday.
I know, dude. Seriously, like what a way to kick the week off. I mean, seriously, like so good. But you got to be able to stay up a little late because it does start a little late. But that's the thing. But it's worth it. It's worth it to go to work a little tired the next day if you go to that particular jam. You know what else I loved? I still do, and I'm sure they'll start it back up again too. Is on Sunday nights down in Culver City. There is a band called the Get Down Boys. The one of my favorite bands, hands down, all genres. These guys are incredible. The singer is just, his voice just is amazing and just cuts through. In fact, I'm gonna give them a call. I'm gonna get them on this show actually. See if they want to come down. And they actually,
awesome.
I think they can actually do from their studio out there, because I know they've been doing some streams lately. But you guys go check out the Get Down Boys. Go subscribe to their channel. Go listen to their videos. They did a couple tunes. One was a Gordon Lightfoot tune. I'm not saying that I'm sorry. Great tune. And then they did Enough to Cry from John Moreland, and they just put out an EP. It was really, really good. These guys are incredible. But go check out the Get Down Boys. Go subscribe to them. But every Sunday night at this place called Bigfoot West in Culver City. It's free to get in, and it's just a hoedown. It's incredible. They're actually bluegrass. So if you guys like bluegrass, go check out that style. If you like that style, go check out the Get Down Boys. Actually, Brandon, you guys have seen Dr. Banjo on my channel. He's here every Thursday for the jam, Mr. Dave Burns. Brandon introduced me to Dave. Brandon was actually a student of Dave's in Poly.
That's
What are you,
right.
psychology student?
Yes, I was a psychology.
Very cool. That's cool. So Brandon introducing me to his high school teachers, who I later on, adopt into my bands.
And we used to jam during the lunch period instead of going out and eating
You
lunch.
and Dave?
Yeah, we would jam during
That's so
lunch
dope.
period. After class, it's like, hey, let's go get some lunch. Me, Gage Holsey, and Dave, we'd all sit around and play like Django Reinhardt, and he's the one that turned me on to David Grisman and a bunch of this, this bluegrass and this country picking type of music that I'd never played before, and I was blown away.
Bro, you came over that day, and I remember, dude, it was so funny, bro. You jumped on the sax, and I remember I showed the video to a friend of mine afterward, to a friend of mine in the bluegrass community afterwards, and before we started playing, they looked at me and said, saxophone and bluegrass, and we started jamming, and they looked at me and they were like, dude, bring this guy to a jam, like, anytime, you know what I mean? Like, because you literally pull it all out. You pull out all the stops for all the genres. Like, I've never been able to throw like a curveball by you, like something you haven't been able to play. Dude, it was awesome. It was so cool. It was so cool. It was mind blowing. That day we had banjo, guitar. Cully was here playing the clarinet and the he had like a mandolin banjo, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, like a man. Fuck, I can't remember the name of it. But and then we had Crumb here, which had his ukulele. James with his upright. I was playing guitar and singing, and then, dude, it was like and then obviously you with your sax and flute, and it was just like a crazy bluegrass session with like weird instruments that really shouldn't be playing in bluegrass, but. Brandon is super. Kendra says Brandon is superhuman.
Thank you, Kendra.
Jazz Angel says, "Yay, Brandon, woodwind and jazz master."
Love Jazz Angels.
Jazz master. Good to see you guys, Kenny, Jessica, Kendra, everybody in the house tonight. You guys are awesome, jazz masters. Everybody, thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. So Brandon is going to jam out on an amazing set for you guys in just a moment here. But first, I gotta ask, last question I have for you. I'm gonna have you on far more often, but I gotta ask you a question before we go. This is one of the questions I have for everybody, to be honest with you, because the answer is very rarely what you would expect. Mm-hmm. What are some of your inspirations, and are your inspirations genre specific? Or do you have two or three that are just like your overalls, your go-to, like your overall inspirations musically? Boom, boom, boom. These ones got me into music, da 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 da, or whatever it is. Or are you like, I have specific genres. Like for hard rock, it's Metallica and Nickelback. That would be yours choice, obviously, not mine.
In middle school, yeah.
But no, and then for hip hop it might be like whatever. But I'm just saying, are they genre specific for your influences, and and what are your influences?
I love that question. That's a great question, because a lot of times people ask, what's my favorite music, and right away, I tell them the 3 J's, Jack Johnson, Jimi Hendrix, and John Mayer, You know, and
That's 4 J's.
that's four. Is that 4J?
And an H and an M.
Oh, wow.
Well, Jack Johnson,
That's
Jimi Hendrix, and Jason Mraz.
and Jason Mraz. I guess it's 5 now. Oh no.
Wow. 5 J's,
And-
2 M's, and an H.
but
A partridge and a pear tree.
but if I
Brandon.
did have the opportunity to say genres, yes, you know.
Nickelhead is fire. Nickelback is fire. I love it.
But you know,
Nickelback is fire, y'all. I don't know what
you
you're
know,
talking about.
so I guess I grew up listening to classic rock. You know, what you grow up listening to it definitely inspires you more than anything, right? So I listened to, you know, I didn't really listen to, you know, Radio Disney or pop music, you know, growing up, and I regret it now because I've learned to love I've learned to love pop music, and if it wasn't for, you know, my classical roots and jazz being like, oh no, like this is the only music I can listen to, then I wouldn't have been able to, you know, be introduced to, you know, such great artists, you know, that, you know, currently are on every channel that you turn on the radio, right? But you know, for the sake of, you know, jazz is probably my favorite genre, and you know, there's so many musicians out there that, you know, I just wouldn't be able to name all of them, but some
Sure.
of them that have taught me and that I, you know, play, you know, probably better because of them, most likely better because of them. You know, I've been all my teachers, you know, from, you know, Barry Kogert, Jazz Angels, from, you know, Katis Buckingham, to, you know, Rusty Higgins at Long Beach Woodwinds, and, you know, Pat Cheng at Long Beach City College.
Sure.
You know, and now I get to study with, you know, the great Sal Lozano over at Cal State Long Beach.
Dope.
Go Beach. And I get one more year of that before, you know, I get my bachelor's. And after that, you know, I'm just going to, you know, people always ask you, it's like, life after college. Oh, you're going to get a degree. And then, you know, I'm getting my degree in jazz studies. What's after that? You know, and I think, you know, music, you know, positivity, you know, and inspiration, you know, are some of the things that my greatest teachers have taught me, just by, you know, sitting next to them and then giving me a lesson. If it wasn't for, you know, you guys, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be able to play the music in the way that I understand it. So, you know, other than, you know, classic rock, pop music, and jazz and classical, you know, I feel like I'm inspired by, you know, Long Beach musicians, you know, for sure, Los Angeles, you know, first off and you know, foremost, you know, Eddie Booz, you know, for example. I love how he can take, as you'll hear later on Human Jukebox, you know, he can take any song and he does his own style of it, you know, and that was something that I learned
Thank
from
you, Brandon. I appreciate you saying so, man. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed for your kind words. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, and I think it's from our inspirations that we grow, we learn, and those who are your true friends, they'll correct your mistakes and they'll point them out and be like, hey, you know, next time, you know, get here a little earlier. And it's like, yeah, you know, that's something we have to work on, you know what I mean, as jazz musicians, as you can know that, you know.
Yeah, jazz musicians are always late. You know, we all know that, you know.
Well, I'm trying to be definitely not just a jazz musician, but an on-time jazz musician.
There you go. An anomaly, huh?
I think that's my goal. You know,
There you
my
go.
lifetime achievement award goes to Brendan Baker.
Hold the hate mail, jazz musicians. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. All right, so Brandon, you're amazing. And with those words of wisdom of yours, let's go ahead and check out a live musical performance in just a moment here from Mr. Brandon Baker. But first, don't go anywhere. Stick around for a live musical performance in just a moment. But first, Bucket Man. That was the jam, bro. I loved it, dude. Hey, I love. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the listening room, Brandon Baker.
Yeah, so that was something that I wrote for a children's audiobook theme. And there's an author on the East Coast in Virginia named Kitty Feldy, and she reached out to me, and she told me, she was like, hey, can you compose this music for this audiobook series I'm doing for kids, somewhere ranged between elementary and middle school? And I said, yeah, sure. And that was version 5 of that recording. So it took me a while to get it. This next tune is called Summers Began. I hope you enjoy it, and this is all original music today. That's me playing the clarinet. Sounds like I should have practiced more. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. I wrote that tune, I think, last summer, and I was going through archives on an old drive from back in the day, and I found that tune, and I wrote it out, and it sounds beautiful. That was an alto flute that you heard from, by the way. And on this next track, you'll hear from soprano flute. This is called The Final Frontier, and this was the first time that I really, questioned the fact, like, what is my music? Who am I as an artist? And my brother, I asked him this question. I was like, how do I write music? And he told me, he's like, well, whatever is your music, whatever expresses yourself. So the beginning notes on this tune are A, B, C, E, E, B, C, A. And that was the melody that I came up with. And enjoy the song. First of many, I hope. Thank you. That tune, The Final Frontier, is not just space or the whole Pacific Ocean we haven't explored yet, but our own mind. And if we can connect the mind to the heart, there's amazing things that we can do. And that's what we try to do through music. And in this next tune, The Final Frontier and the next song is called Space Drift. And I played a lot of guitar on this as well. And you can hear it in the track. This will feature me on the saxophone. Space Drift, right? So I was kind of going for that David Gilmour type of Pink Floyd guitar sound in the melody, as you could hear, and a little bit of Astronauts, Etc. I feel like on that last part there. So this next tune I wrote in the heart of April after the quarantine hit us hard in March as musicians, just like that intro. All right, it's raining. It's April. You remember? My heart goes out to all those musicians struggling to make it work. Love you. Be strong. The light will come.
April and quarantine, praying for lucky, here to be found soon. Springtime, riding in quarantine, nothing else to do. This time to myself, nobody left and nothing else. What am I to do? The rain pouring down and down. April and quarantine, praying for lucky, here to be found soon. Springtime, riding in quarantine, nothing else to do.
Love that song. And I think, that was the expression that I got from it, being in quarantine. We're not out of the thick yet, so stay safe out there, practice social distancing, and, keep making good music from home, and whenever you can, try and support those. This next one is going to lighten up a little bit. It's called Piece of Cake. I wrote it for my friends that just picked up roller skating. So you can imagine like kind of a roller derby. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, right? So yeah, it's not a piece of cake when it comes to skating. So make sure you wear, wrist guards, knee pads, elbow pads. As cool as it is, just be careful when you're out there on the trail. So apart from trying to stay active every day and keep the mind active and practicing, or if it's going outside to play with your friends. This next tune actually comes from the end of the school year in my Jazz Theory 2 class. This is the ostinato rhythm from one of the pages, and our professor was smart. He made us play it on the piano, so this is what I came up with. Check it out. This next one is called Latin Groove, and the cool thing about this track is that I was playing with different chords and different changes, and it was kind of an experiment on how cool a Latin feel would be with the flute. So go ahead and check this one out. This is kind of like alright, James Bond, Inspector Gadget, Mission Impossible, alright. And then Fly Me to the Moon. I'll studio fade out. So this next tune is, I went down to, I think it was Manhattan Beach, and I recorded the waves on the shore. And we were looking for bioluminescence, but we didn't quite find it, but it was there. So this is the search. This song has two parts. The search for the luminescence. That's part two. And this part is when you find the luminescence. I think we went down to Newport Beach and we found it the following night, and it was in the waves. And when you moved your feet on the ground, on the sand, you could see trails in the sand.
ladies and gentlemen, the always amazing Brandon Baker. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in the listening room, you guys. Thank you so much to my musical guest, Mr. Brandon Baker. Brandon, you were awesome tonight. Thank you so much for joining me, brother.
This was a pleasure.
Awesome, dude. You were incredible. You guys join me tomorrow night for Thomas Tulak. He'll be here. And we're going to be watching the Star Wars fan film that he directed that I was actually in. So come on back tomorrow night at 6:30 for the listening room. And stick around tonight at around 8:15 p.m. Brandon and I will be going live with Human Jukebox this evening. Thank you guys so much for joining us again tonight. Thanks to my guest, Brandon Baker, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you all. Love you all. Thanks for being a part of the listening room tonight. My name is Eddie Booze. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications, and give the video a like. We'll see you guys every Monday through Friday right here at 6:30. Take care.